Always ready to go. All right, folks. This is uncharted territory, pun intended. This is a new start. This is also, and this is news to you, this is news to everybody, part one of what I'm going to do on YouTube. 3 interviews. Southeast first. You're number one, of course. Numero
Of
Uno.
course. Why would I not be?
Your boy Jameson is another one that I've locked down for the future, and then Darian Bingston. I'm moving out here, folks.
That's a good set list. That ain't too bad.
Dude, that's a solid beginning of talking to the wrestlers, man. Like all y'all super, super good guys. And yeah, Jaden, right away, I found out the thing that got you into pro wrestling, which was Halloween Havoc 97, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. It's funny too, because when I found that out, I was listening to various podcasts, things like that. I was like, that really does make a lot of sense in the way that you wrestle, because you go 100%. Like you never half-ass stuff. If something whiffs, you go, fuck that. We're doing it. We're doing something else. We're making this work. And I think that's something that's so lost now. And you see it in that match. And I just figured that it would be a nice thing to just sort of put that out there and let everyone realize that, like, right off the bat. It's like my wife's first match that I ever showed her, which I fucked up here. Young Bucks against Roppongi Vice from New Japan in 2014. What was wrong with me?
Honestly, what an intro into the world of professional wrestling is that match.
Same with you, though, man. Like, I had already been watching a couple years, but I just figured you'd love to put that match over.
Yeah, man, that match, I mean, you can't put it over enough. I think I try to watch that match at least once a year, just like kind of as a reminder to myself of like what made me fall in love with wrestling. Because like sometimes you just get so jaded and like just like in like this like cycle of just like the same old shit. And like with the way pro wrestling is, like it's so much of like a repeat loop where you're just seeing so much of the same things, like whether it's online or like, you know, there's streaming services galore now. So it's nice to just kind of go back to like the roots of like what made you actually want to do it. And that match is always it for me. Like, cause dude, they just go the whole fucking time and they showed out knowing that like they weren't the main event, but like they were going to make sure that people left talking about them. And like, I think it's interesting. Like I've never, and I obviously won't ever probably get the chance. Well, I want to say I won't ever, but you know, I would love to like get like Rey Mysterio's opinion on like that matchup and like wonder like kind of like if they realize how important that match would be to wrestling today.
Right. I don't know, because like, I mean, we're going to talk about a match that I quite literally had to stop my life and write about last night between you and Tank, which that's going to be a whole big part of this. So it's like, you know, I think someone said it perfect about like football. I think it was Joe Montana. Somebody was like, you know, the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, it's going to sound really shitty. I kind of barely remember it. Because when you're in the hustle bustle of it, it takes forever to kind of take that step back. And I don't know, though. I hope he thinks it's great, because I think that's their breakout shit, man. I think after that is when you start seeing everyone talk about Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio as like top level performers, not just like great mid-carders. There's a difference. So
yeah, and that was what I was about to say, like, because I think at that point's where you start to kind of see like this like transcendence per sort for like both guys, you know, and like obviously they go on to become like world champions and like later on in their career, and like they end up, you know, wrestling each other on like the bigger stages. But it's like, man, just like so incredible to think like where they are now to like where they were then, and like you can tell that they were fighting for bigger and better things at that point.
oh yeah, and I mean the cruiserweights were just, you know, again, such an afterthought. But fucking huge fumble by WCW. Which, speaking of, you know, Ted Turner R.I.P. today, man. I mean,
Yeah, I
God.
saw the news. Crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, as a Chattanooga kid, I gotta imagine like there's probably some deep love there for that kind of stuff.
For sure. And like, I'm sad that I kind of got more into like older WCW and stuff the older I got in my years. But
Yeah.
like, it would have been so awesome to have like got to witness some of that stuff live because like we had some really cool stuff that came through with like McKenzie Arena. Whenever like WCW ran a couple nitros here, and even like prior to that, there were just like all sorts of different events that they were running.
Yeah. And that kind of fits into a question I had. Is that kind of history like the WCW has and all that what you believe makes Chattanooga such a hot place for wrestling? Because I mean, man, it feels like Chattanooga's like what Atlanta was for the Indies for a time. It's feeling like what Philly was for the time, like that Chattanooga slash Atlanta area.
Yeah.
Um, what makes that so unique? Because it really, really is.
You know, I wish I had a good answer for you on that. I had this conversation with someone recently. Um, I think it was maybe at one of the like last ICW shows that we had in the building. And they had asked me, they were like, do you realize how special what you're doing here in the city is? And like to me, I was just like, dude, like it's just another day like at work. Like, because we all, I would say especially like the TWE crew, like we're all so headstrong at like, you know, showing out and representing like where we're from because we're so proud of it for that history. And like, we want to continue to add to that like legacy that like at a certain point, like we kind of got tunnel visioned and didn't even realize like that we had already added to it. And whenever you had mentioned like yesterday, like writing about like the match with like, for instance, like Tank and I and like things like that lets me know that like we're on the right track because now like people can look back on like things and matches that we've had in that building. And, it kind of lets me know that like we've done and are doing everything that we set out to do. But I really can't say what makes it special aside from just the hardworking crew of people that like want to go and make themselves better. Just with that, also putting the city on their back.
Yeah, and you all do. It's interesting because even like a guy like Darian, who I had no idea, like he's a total transplant. Like he's not from there at all. Like he just sort of like, as he put it, washed up there after the pandemic, and like, but he is Southeast first. Like that is the thing. Like it just feels like very much that infectious sort of spirit. And when I talk to guys that go there as fans, that same thing. It's like, and it's not blind allegiance. There's good criticism too, but it's not just like dogging on you guys. It's not like, well, they fucked this up, so I guess Chattanooga. It's like, no, it's like we're all growing. And that is probably the biggest thing I wish people would understand about indie wrestling, is that's what makes it beautiful to me, is that
Yeah.
it's rough around the edges.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be picture perfect. And like a lot of that's like what I instill in my students at the school at the TAB performance combines. It's like, guys, like whenever you go out there, like it doesn't have to be we do move A into move B. And if we accidentally mess up move B, then we have to restart. It's like, no, you have to go with the flow and with the natural like feel of what's going on around you. So many people are afraid to just go out there and say, fuck the script. And they don't want to be uncomfortable. That's what it comes from.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a plan, like it's almost like a safety harness, right? And it's like you gotta take that shit off and just go. And I think whenever you do that, like it's either gonna be really good or it's gonna be really bad. And that's kind of it, right? Like, and if it's really bad, that's awesome. You learn from it and then you move forward and you figure out how to not be in that situation again. Like
Yeah.
that to me is in wrestling. And like I mean, people just kind of have to just get used to being uncomfortable. So that way they can like get comfortable in their own skin, like whenever they're in a ring.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I don't. It's GWE season, right? And it's become this thing, and it's really cool actually because I came into it what I would think really late. Like I did do a ballot in 2016. I was on Pro Wrestling Only. I'm one of those dorks.
No shame.
Oh yeah, well, like that's kind of like I feel like the difference, like in what another testament to you guys in the Southeast, is you guys are nerds for this shit. Like this is your life. Like you want to really just be as good as you can be, and my number one and the guy I'm always on a soapbox about is Terry Funk. I think he's the greatest of all time. I think
He's incredible.
and it's for that reason. See, that's where I think people miss it with him is they see the imperfection in the shit he does, especially the later stuff when he was older, because body breaking down. But when you know how to work with that and work with the fuck ups and the little things like a table falls off or whatever, like that's what makes great wrestling. And I think it's happening right now in Chattanooga in that TWE arena, man. What is even the capacity of TWE, by the way? I've always wanted to know.
So the official capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, this doesn't get me in trouble. The official capacity is 250. So we've absolutely had more than that in the building.
Of course.
But what the fire marshal don't know, don't hurt. So
hey, buddy. It's on the up and up over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's crazy is like we ended up actually getting in relatively good with the city too. So like sometimes like, they'll be like, well, just make sure it's okay. And we're like, okay, yeah, whatever that means. And then we're like, so it's nice that we've been able to build that reputation at least.
Yeah, like the exploding fucking cage you guys did on Jameson's show.
Ooh, that is a whole story in itself.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, yeah. There's some things to that will probably never be mentioned publicly.
Right, of course. But you guys did it, man. That's crazy though. You can put that tally on your side that ECW never did. Like, crazy.
Dude, it's fucking insane. And like really the credit for that goes to Jameson because he was the guy that was like, hey, what if we did an exploding cage match? I was like, oh yeah, what if? And then next thing I know, there's a graphic. And then I was like, oh, we actually have to do this shit now.
Yeah.
So like, and there wasn't really a plan like on how we were going to kind of figure it out really until like it got closer to time. And I was like, hey bud, how the fuck are we going to do this? So shout out to Jameson because he's a fucking doer, and you definitely need to be a doer in this shit if you want to succeed. Yeah. But like, dude, I was so like the wrestler in me and the wrestling fan in me was like, this is fucking awesome. The promoter, building management in me was like, holy fucking shit, please don't burn anything down.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. The story that you guys tell about that on your podcast is awesome, man. So yeah, and that's what I love, man. I love the risks that get taken. I feel like that's indie wrestling. When did you what was your first exposure to indie wrestling?
So my first exposure, I was probably about 9 or 10. It was shortly after I watched that match on the Rey Mysterio home video. I discovered wrestling through a wrestling booth at the Eastridge Flea Market over this way. And I met a guy named Lewis. Lewis then put me in direction to a guy named Roger Cantrell, handsome Roger Cantrell. He was a manager in the area. And he was working at a show at the time in Ringgold, Georgia. And I got put on game about it. So me and my grandfather started going. And the first show I ever went to was American Torture. I think it was like 2009, I believe. And the main event was an American Torture match, which essentially was like a Southern hardcore, like, I guess, kind of like death match.
Yeah.
But like, I remember like, they're using like tacks, they're using fire, they're using kendo sticks. At one point, they work outside to the roof and they literally do, I don't remember if it was like just a bill off the roof or if it was a suplex. I still have the DVD somewhere. But like fucking, they do this thing through a fucking windshield of a limo off the roof of the building. And I was just like, holy fucking shit. I was like, this is awesome. So they ran every first Saturday of the month. So I was there every first Saturday of the month up until the point that I ended up leaving there because I ended up starting my career.
That's awesome, dude. And that really is an interesting thing to have a scene so early, because like I'm the total opposite, man. I grew up in Arkansas, the middle of fuck all Arkansas,
I
right?
was like, yeah, was there much of a scene out there? Like, were you watching wrestling
No,
like that?
no, it was. I tell people all the time, truthfully, it's like living in the 50s in Moscow in terms of like there's no live nothing. Now it's completely different. Walmart took over, brother. They
Yeah.
got shit everywhere. Every day I feel like there's something going on. They got a venue, all that shit. At the time, the claim to fame in my area was one WCW house show. And it was at the death nail of WCW, like late 2000, didn't go.
Oh,
I didn't see wrestling till I moved close to Little Rock in college in my 20s, and that was like SmackDown and TNA. I did the coolest thing I ever did. TNA, I was like 3 feet away from AJ Styles. I
that's
was like,
incredible. Yeah, dude. Because what year was that?
2013.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, so I don't care what anyone says. People will be online and they'll shit on 2013 TNA and all that shit. Nah, dude, that era, like, in my
Ruled.
opinion, like, especially like if you go back a few years, like I was a hardcore TNA fan, especially like in like 2009 to like 2013, 2014, like right before AJ left. And
Hell
like, dude,
yeah.
I genuinely in 2010, whenever they did the Monday Night Wars, the very short-lived Monday Night Wars, I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I was telling all my friends, I was like, dude, WWE's done. Wrap it up, dude. TNA's gonna
Yeah.
beat them. They're done for. Like, that's how diehard I was for that shit.
Yeah, dude. I love that, man. No, I mean, people, it's so funny now. When you start getting older, you start to realize that, like, really, people just change narrative all over the fucking place. You know what I mean? And TNA is a prime example of that. There's this idea that from day one they were screwed. No, they were the alternative. Like, people want to act like it was goofy and they had Disco Inferno, blah blah blah. Yeah, okay, that can be true, as well as like the X Division changed the game. Because let's
Yes.
just be real right now. Like, that's what it was. And people got to remember that, like, people knew that before they knew ROH. They might have were first to the game, in chronology, but like those ROH DVDs, man, they didn't move as strong as that TNA pay-per-view you could rent on your remote. Like, that was a thing. And that's super cool that you were really into that. Yeah, 2013 was sick. I watched Joe in a tag with like Austin Aries and Jeff Hardy, man. Saw Hogan, which nowadays, man, but hey, I saw Hogan. I got to see it,
At
got
that
the
time period, that's
goosebumps.
sick. Yeah, I get it completely.
Yeah, dude. It was great. It was great. They had a chance, but corporate wrestling, man. That's how it is. Let's talk about the opposite of that. Let's talk about WXW Germany.
Okay.
You've gone. I don't know how many times you've been over there.
I think 3 or 4 times now.
Felix Kohlenberg, CEO, made a point when I first told him. I was like, "Yeah, I got Jaden Newman. I'm gonna have on the interview. I'm kind of like trying to do American stuff too." And he's like, "I have a story about Jaden Newman. Let me know."
Jeez.
Today he messaged me cold. Have you done it yet to get this in? And I love this story. This really kind of like cements how good of a person you are. He says, and I am like reading this straight from the DM, so I'll synthesize as I do it. It's Carrot 2023 weekend. You
Okay.
come in, you had just been there in the fall or something a little bit before that. It was what it was. He kind of just put it like, you came in, but he liked you. So he was like, all right, let's bring you in, Carrot. Right around the same time, he gets wind of Mike D out of Belgium. And he's like, shit, we got to like push this guy. He's going to stay, So he's nervous to tell you, like, hey, you came all this way. We kind of need you to like, do the favor. And he was like, I've never had a wrestler so quickly be like, hell yeah, let's do this. Let's make this work, man. Let's have a good one. And you did. And I watched this last night before he even sent this in. And he was like, you're always a pleasure. Everyone, you fit right into what was going on. So he wanted to like get that out there, how much he appreciated that. So there you go.
Man, that's so cool. Dude, like it's crazy because I remember meeting Mike that day and like I saw him and I was like, holy shit, this is a ham hock of a guy. This is gonna be awesome. And then like whenever I was told, like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do, I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like so many people have an ego about shit. And it's like, dude, like at the end of the day, it's like that's why I'm there. I'm there to get your guys over because then whenever I come over next time, if you have another batch of guys for me to get over, all while I'm putting over myself, even better. Great. That means that like if they're not signed by the time I'm back, then we can, do more stuff and like we can tell some fun stories. And that's why I always like WXW is like I can because I think that Carrot Weekend, I worked Mike at the Inner Circle show. I wrestled Adam Priest on the WXW and Friends Showcase, where I
Yes.
kind of went babyface, and
Mhm.
then I went back heel the next day. So like,
Yeah.
it's always cool being over there because like I can kind of swap like what I'm doing, and the crowd is like, okay, we're in, right? So I mean, that's like honestly the best part about being over there is like I can test myself with like a different audience. And the fact that I'm able to elicit a reaction both as babyface heel, great, awesome. And I can help get people over in the process, even better.
Yeah. And I had it was funny because when he sent me that, I went, it's like we're on the same wavelength, dude. Because I watched that match last night. I'm just going through your stuff on Cage Match. I'm like trying to find the interesting stuff, And Mike D, one of my favorite guys as I've gotten into WXW over the last year or so. And I literally just was like, Jaden is bumping his ass off for this guy, man. Like this is some like really good shit. And it is a testament to like the promoter in you, right? Because you hear a guy like Felix go, hey, this is what you need, you know exactly what he means. Because there's a difference. Like when you're just a wrestler, you go, oh, just go out there and like do the, Shawn Michaels bump your ass off. Well, no, because sometimes maybe that isn't what you need.
Yeah.
So I also think maybe that was why that stuck with him too, is how much you just bam, you're on it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm there to do a job, man. Like, at the end of the day, like those guys are going to be there more than I am. So I'm an asshole if I come over and like I don't help get people where they need to be in the process, right?
Yeah.
Like that does nobody any favors. But like going over there and doing good business, especially as an independent wrestler, man, like me and one of my best friends, Colby Carino, we had this talk not too long ago about how like we're lifers in this shit. And it's like whenever you're a lifer, you have to do good business all across the board because that's the only thing that's going to keep you around.
Yeah. I think you're dead right. Oh yeah, shout out to Colby Carino, one of my favorite dudes out there. Good guy. Um, yeah, man. I mean that is kind of really the difference. A guy that I think is gonna be a lifer is we've mentioned him already. Jameson Shook, your tag partner, your trainee. I mean, how awesome has it been? I feel like he's blowing the hell up over these last few months.
Man, it's crazy because he's only been wrestling for I can't remember if it's his fourth year coming up or his third. But dude, he's been wrestling for such a short amount of time and he's done so much. And that's a testament to the hard work that he's willing to put in. And he's always put in that hard work literally from day one that he stepped into the school. And he's also to add to that, he's also been a little shithead since the day he stepped into the school. A little story here. The first time I met Jameson Shook, he came in. I found out about him and through Aaron Wade, who I trained as well. They went to school with each other, but they never like really were like super tight. But he gave him the connect, so JMO came through. JMO did one day of the beginners class, and the whole time he was there, he did a fucking Irish accent. And he was working me that he was Irish. And then he slipped out of it and like turned on his like fucking hick ass Ringgold, Georgia accent. And I said, listen, man, I said, I'm gonna need you to tell me right fucking now, are you Irish or are you not? It's like he's like, I'm not. And I was like, okay, cool, great. Now we can continue. And then, and then from then on, I was like, I like this kid. Like he's good people's. It was almost similar to like whenever I first met Nathan Frazier, like, and then how him and I kind of became friends out of it. Like very similar.
That's hilarious. And it's funny though, if you think about it, Jameson kind of dodged a bullet that you were his trainer, because you think about some of these old school boy, like he might have got the shit, a liberty taken on him. Like some guys
Dude, yes.
take it way too serious. So thank God. And I'm sure he may have even has told you that, like, dude, thank you for like showing me mercy.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy because like he definitely like would have gotten his ass beat, especially by like the first people that were around like training me, like before I got retrained, like it would have been bad.
Yeah, man. I've heard the names through the grapevine, and yeah, dude,
Yes.
that was a
That's
bullet.
why I claim Kerry Awful as my wrestling father, because he's who retrained me and made me the wrestler I am today.
And why wouldn't you use that name? He rules. Like when I heard that, I was like, Carry Awful. I remember that from some indie shows back in the day. Hell yeah. Love me some Carry Awful, dude. Yeah. And to that point, I guess, we'll get into, I had heard of you and Tank and the whole like story behind it, because I had watched an interview with him and Rev on IWTV, I think. And they would talk about like, yeah, we really were dicks. Like, he was very honest about like before his first retirement that he was very hard on you. He was, the whole thing that you guys get into with the angle that I posted on Twitter the other night. And it fucking got me, dude. And, again, I've been watching this shit since 94. And it's hard to get me. Like my wife will make fun of me. We'll go to like live wrestling, and I kind of just am that guy that like I react to my people I like.
Of
Like I'll scream
course.
like a girl when Eddie Kingston came out the last time I went to a live show, right? But like you gotta get me. And you guys got me. And then like I had to like look at my wife and be like, I gotta like dial in for a second, like write about this. This is crazy. And I love the promo work and all that stuff, but talk about how like hard it was to just sort of like ride it out and get to this point where like you're like Mr. Chattanooga, man.
Yeah, so I mean, starting out it wasn't easy. And I know that kind of sounds like a cliche thing, but like it really wasn't, man, because coming from where I was, I had left where I was previously training because I was being done wrong. And in the process of that, my grandfather, who was an electrician, knew nothing about the wrestling business aside from like us going to shows and him watching, right? Um, because like aside from the show in Ringgold I was going to, I also was going to NWA Chattanooga, which was being promoted by the Reverend Dan Wilson at the time. And I was also going to Empire Wrestling and things like that. So in the process of all this, my grandfather takes me to this building. And like I figured like we had to stop and go like just check out like one of his jobs that he needed to go see or something. So like we're walking around in here. I was like, so like what is this, like one of the jobs you got coming up or something? And he's like, yeah, I guess you could say that because this is gonna be where we have our wrestling show. And I was like, what? And then he's like, yeah, we're gonna run TWE. And TWE was like my backyard company. Like we wrestled on a ring or we wrestled on a trampoline, and then my old man got us a ring for the backyard because he was like, listen, if you're gonna train, you don't need to just be training once a week. So I would also be out there in the backyard with my ring, training with my best friend Bailey Blake, who's now quit wrestling, but he was also incredible. So like this happens, and that's kind of like how I have my debut. I had my debut at the place that was built essentially for me, but a lot of people like kind of get it mixed up. It wasn't just for me. It was a place for younger talent to get reps because that wasn't a thing. People really didn't want to give the younger guys a chance. Like they tried to, bully them out and get them rid of them as opposed to giving them a platform and a place in a safe space to like grow. So that was basically a lot of that. And, because of that, I was kind of like outcasted. And a lot of veterans in the area that now don't wrestle or, you know, have their problems. Like, they shit on me for years. Like, they shit on me. They called me a shit bird. They said I would never do anything in this business, that I was there were so many things that were being said about me. And like, for me as a 15-year-old kid, I didn't understand because I looked up to these people. And that was
Yeah.
hard because all I wanted to do was I wanted their approval. I wanted to be in that circle of guys. I wanted to learn from them. But because of, you know, being the owner's grandson and being around people that I'm no longer around, like it hindered me. And it sucked because I got grouped and classified as something that I wasn't, and no one really gave me a true chance. And, you know, that was just kind of one of those things where it's like it pissed me off at a certain point. So I just really dialed in. I started working hard. Like, Kerry Awful and I met at AWE in Atlanta, and he told me if I was serious about becoming a real professional wrestler to come to Tullahoma. I wasn't driving at the time, dude. My grandfather would drive me to Tullahoma. He would sleep in the car because it would be late. And then I would literally like train with Carrie until whatever time. And then we'd come home and we'd both go to work. Right.
Damn.
Like, Carrie was like the guy that really took a shot on me and like helped me like better understand the business and better defend myself, because man, I got in there with shitheads that would try to hurt me too.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, like, just through consistent hard work and like going and like trying to just be a better version of myself, like literally going to seminars all the time, like traveling, hopping in cars, like, dude, I just, and even today I feel this, like, I just want to be the best at this shit. Like, if you're not trying to get into this to be the top dog, like, I don't understand why you're doing this. Like, obviously there is for the love of the game, but it's like for the love of the
Yeah.
game, I want to be at the top. So
Right.
yeah. So then we get to this point where Tank and I start being around each other more. And, we start actually talking and having these conversations. And me and Tank, even we went to I guess it was a bonding trip. But me, Tank, and Dan, we went to the first, or no, it was the second AEW show in Nashville, where Punk cuts the "Will You Be My Valentine" promo, and like
Uh-huh.
we had a good time, man. Like, it was a blast. And at that point, like, he started coming around more, and like we started talking, and he was like, "Man, like, I'm really fucking sorry," like, because I was like, "Yeah, man, like, you let me down." But now, like, he's like one of the like closest people I have in my circle. And like, that's so cool to be able to like go to him and like ask him for guidance when I need it. But like, also, like, I'm at a point now to where it's like, you know, I'm now giving people guidance, and it's because of things that like I didn't have coming up. So yeah. So to be able to do
Yeah.
that match for ICW, like, it was great because I got everything I needed out. And I know he did too. And I told him, I was like, please, like, if do what you gotta do. But like, and that was that. Like, him getting on the mic afterwards, complete shoot, like, didn't know he was gonna do that and say he was sorry in front of everybody. And that's hard, man, because literally my family, if you go back and you watch it, my family is right there at the cage. My whole family. Like, and like, it's like my mom, my sister, and different people. And it's just like, dude, like, that match alone for me is so much personally because of what it meant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, and I wrote about it. I believe it is your ascension. Tank was the final boss of Chattanooga, and you lost the match. Spoiler of a show 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, guys.
but it's like that's why it got me, because I was like, fuck, it felt like Tommy Dreamer in ECW. It felt like Sting in WCW for a while. You know, it's like you're the top guy, but you lost, and it's like better for you
Yeah.
because now you won Tank's approval, and then that morphed into you being in the Coven, and I love that. I love what you guys understand that a lot of scenes don't, which is that progression, and make it episodic as much as you can. Why not? Why not play with that entertainment medium that you have at your disposal? Why not do it?
Yeah. And like, with that too, like pro wrestling is the only thing like episodically where your characters they grow in real time. They age in
Yeah.
real time. So you have to think from my point of view, they've literally watched me grow from a teenager, a kid that was literally leaving high school. Like it was essentially, I'll say this right now, I was truant as shit. Like, because all I wanted to do was be on the road and be wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
watched me grow from like this like shithead kid who just loved professional wrestling to being where I'm at now. And it's, I can imagine from like a fan's point of view, it's got to be like wild, right? Like I'm at a point now where like I have people come up to me, like young adults, and they'll come up to me and be like, man, like I used to watch you whenever I was little, and it's so weird to me because I'm like, dude, I'm 27. Like, don't tell me that. Like, but
Yeah,
like,
dude.
to think that they grew up watching the,
Mhm.
um, the ascension, like it's a lot, man. Like, and that's a big reason, like, why I keep going is because I don't want to let them down if they're still watching. Like, and I don't want to let myself down, the younger me, because I was let down enough. So, like, you just got to keep going and just
Yeah,
keep
man.
doing it.
Yeah, it's neat. That's what I've really leaned into too as an older fan. I mean, older. I'm 37, so uh you start to look at it in a different lens, and that's the fun part to me is the character development and all that. And it's really funny to the thing that you said about you got adults saying, "Hey, I watched you forever." I had that feeling where like Elia Bloom, who's like the you know top guy right now in WXW,
Yeah.
and he's their unified world champ. He was on a podcast, and he was talking about, people get it twisted with me about my goals. And he's like, I'm already living my childhood dream. And he explained, I grew up watching WXW, and it kind of like it fucked me up on two levels because I'm old enough to remember before WXW plus. So I was like, damn. But then it's also you think about it in your head and you're like, well, yeah, that was his scene, you know? Like, and he said it. He's like, dude, that was the wrestling I had. And it's neat to hear that because that really is going to help you understand the wider scope of professional wrestling. It's
Yeah.
not just one thing.
Yeah. Like, it's not just this linear, like, we keep moving up, we keep moving up. Like, sometimes you're going to be going up and then you're going to take a side turn and then you're going to go this way. And then you're
Yeah.
like, like that's just the journey of it. But for people that hate that, like, don't be into wrestling because
Right.
that's like, that's that. Like, pro wrestling is just pro wrestling and it will go and take you every single direction. Sometimes not even the direction you want to go, but at the end of the day, you will get out of it what you want.
And it also, and I'm sure you'll agree with this too, I've heard people describe it as like you get what you put into it as well. Like if
Yeah.
you just kind of bullshit and whatever, and that's cool, I am a firm believer in like if you want to be like a local guy and that's it and it's a hobby for you, that's chill. As long as you do good business and you take care of people. But like yeah, like why wouldn't you, go out there, and if you really take it serious, that you got to go out there and travel, and that's something you do really well. You were going out, to Jersey for H2O, you're going to Beyond, you're going all over the place, and it's because, like you said, you want to be there. I even saw results of you in fucking Scotland, and I was like, this guy's legit, he's
Yeah.
looking for
my one
every
time
place.
Scotland appearance. Yeah, I did a doubleheader there.
I mean, that seems like a crazy crowd. Anytime I've seen some Scottish stuff.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was for Bleeding Gums, which they're no longer running, but I was very happy I got to do that weekend. I wrestled a guy named Franco Fate, and then I wrestled Tim Strange on the Late Show. And dude, it was so crazy because like it's like we were doing like a deathmatch show in like Edinburgh. I think it was not Edinburgh, but it was like somewhere in like little Midland, Scotland, in like this like hotel like convention like church looking thing. Like, and there's like, you know, not like there's maybe like 100 people in attendance, maybe less. And like I
Right.
was just like, fuck yeah, man. This is independent wrestling. Like it was so fun, right? And like I got to hang out with like that weekend was cool because like I got to kick it with Joel Bateman and Matt Tremont all weekend and Cody Van Horn and like
Oh.
which Cody Van Horn, another one of mine, right? So like, you know, to be able to
Oh, I
like
didn't
share the
know that.
experience of going with one of my kids overseas and like also like hanging out with like OGs, like man, like like nothing is cooler than that shit, man.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing that I've been really, really vocal about lately is the importance of you know doing towns, man, getting reps, going out there wrestling anywhere. I mean, I think people really have lost sight of like how important that is, and I'll go out there right now. I think all you guys that are wrestling at a top level, and obviously when you come back wrestling at a top level,
Yeah.
uh, I would put you guys against a lot of the TV guys, and it's nothing against them. It's just you are seasoned, and that's really important and very pivotal. And I think a place that probably you would attest to your seasoning would be Sup, which
Oh yeah.
unfortunately no longer runs, but were they a Knoxville outfit? Was that mainly where they
They were
ran?
Nashville. So they were East
Nashville.
Nashville, primarily
Okay.
ran out of the Basement East. Their
Yes.
last event though was at the East Side Bowl in Madison, Tennessee during SummerSlam weekend at 22.
Yeah. Um, I it's one of those blind spots for me. I don't know a lot about it. I do know that Kevin Koo was a large part of that, Dylan Hales, guys like that. I mean, I feel like being around those guys, you can't help but learn and get better.
Yeah, man. That whole booking crew of Righteous Jesse, Dylan, Koo, Dom, like it was really a good fucking crew to be around. And I learned so much. Like to me, SUP essentially was my second home before Action was. And man, that was one of the places I truly like grew, not only as like a wrestler, but like as like, you know, a kid turning into an adult. Like I was supposed to be on the first ever sub show, but I was still underage and like, I was supposed to be in the first tournament for the Bone Storm title, but they literally were like, sorry, dude, like unless you have a fake ID, we can't do nothing. So it's like I was like, ah shit. So,
Yeah.
once I was able to like start wrestling there, then like it was kind of like full steam ahead. And there was like a little time period like I wasn't there because like it was just a matter of timing and figuring out like what was gonna work best for me. And then we just ended up finding something that worked. And then that would end up leading to me having like that awesome feud with Manders, which is one that I just recently saw J Rose from Naptown, shout out J Rose, mention about like the Sup back catalog, man. And like it just
Yeah.
brought up so many memories because that's like one of my most fun feuds was with Manders. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff you can go back and check out for sure.
Oh yeah. Heavy favorite on that once I figured out like, oh, it's like everybody I already like running a company. Awesome,
Yeah,
Um
it definitely makes it a lot easier to watch.
yeah, exactly. It's not like watching an IWA Mid-South pre-show or something like that. Yeah, I just wanted to get Sup in there, man, because that everybody from all around that way that were in the scene at that time always are like, man, Sup was the best.
Dude, it was so special. And with the hiatus they've been on, because it's a hiatus, they never once said that they were done, that they're like never gonna run again. I mean, just
Good.
realistically, life happens, right?
Mhm.
It makes you appreciate what you have when it's there. And I think one day there is a possibility that something comes back. And what it looks like, who knows? Because obviously, there are some key members and key characters that like aren't around anymore. But also with that comes the chance to showcase like some new people, like with the like sup mentality. And I don't know. It's exciting because I think about that a lot. Like Sup could come
Yeah.
back, and when it does, that'll be awesome. But like until then, like you have Action Wrestling, you have TWE, you have New South, and all these other companies in the South, NGW, like kind of holding it down and doing the right stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really does kind of seem to be the hot conversation in the independence is like cohabilitation. Like kind of you know, you had the new initiative start, you know, you got obviously the collective thing's been a thing, but the idea that in the wake of a Deadlock Pro going out of business, in the wake of Prestige going out of business, all within like really, really short time, there's a void. And it really is there to be filled. And I think that you do see outfits like, you know, Pandemonium Pro coming out of the West Coast is kind of trying to do that as well. And more is better when it comes to independent wrestling. And I think that's what I love about it. You got action and all that stuff. And everyone has kind of their identity, which I also appreciate. You know, like New South isn't just action in Alabama. You got Big Dave, you know, you got Command Man Dan, you got your guys there. And it's a different world that everyone sort of like swims through the same ocean. That's what I loved about like PWG, ROH, IWA back in the day, right? So that's what I do appreciate right now about the scene is that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's become more of a thing over the last few years too, because like, you know, a couple years back, it definitely was a little tense. Like, granted, action and TWE's always had a really good relationship. Sup and TWE always had a really good relationship. But I think that comes proxy to the fact that, like, you know, I was actively wrestling for both of them. And, you know, I'm still, regardless of like how long I've been doing this, like I'm still young. So like, you know, they want to help the
Yeah.
young guy, right? So you know, it kind of helped be like a good crossover. And that's why I considered TWE the meeting house of the South, because that's where like a lot of like, and there's this picture from a few years ago actually that I think solidifies that. There's a picture of, I think it was Derek Neal, Brett Eisen, and Eric Royal whenever they were the Action New South and TW champs. We got all the South champions in one picture for one night. And like at that point, I think was kind of where like it started to like go up as far as it goes with being able to all work together and realize that like we're all playing on the same team, man. Because whenever you do that, dude, like the independents are unstoppable.
Absolutely. And it's houses for everybody. I think that's where everyone gets mistaken here. You know, it's like the classic thing where, you know, Savage and Lawler had the problems that they had because, you know, the outlaw thing with the Poffos and all that. And finally, at the end of the day, they did what had to be done because they both are businessmen and they went, well, fuck it. Let's run this. Let's run, you know, all the big towns and let's do business. And they did fucking business, you know,
Yep.
and we're missing that. And thank God that's starting to really actually happen again. You know, it's a silver lining in a really dark cloud otherwise. The only other thing I had written down that we haven't hit is I found maybe the strangest match that has ever occurred that I know of. And I have a Kin the Box t-shirt that you can go and buy at Pro Wrestling Tees Action store. Uh, it was the dog collar match in a coffee shop with Mad Dog Conway.
Yeah.
How the hell did this get booked? How did you feasibly make this? And it is a kick-ass match.
So there was a coffee shop that Dylan frequents quite a bit downtown called Stone Cup. Right next door, the owners had a place called the Dark Roast, which was like a concert venue type deal for like little small indie bands. So Dylan being in there all the time ended up working up a good relationship with people that owned it and was like, hey, like, would you let us run like a no ring event in here? And so that was kind of that, right? So we would end up running a couple in there. And I believe that was the December show for 22.
Yep.
And yeah, like Dylan had told me, he's like, hey, so it was whenever Mad Dog started doing the Mad Dog deal. So like it was
Yeah.
like one of his first like dog collar matches. And he was like, hey, like, are you okay with doing this dog collar? Like, you know, where he's trying to get it over. And I was like, yeah, man, of course. So I do it. And like, man, like if you've ever met Mad Dog, like how he is when he flips is not how he is outside. And like,
Yeah.
I just remember right before I was like, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And then the match starts and I go, oh, I'm fighting for my fucking life.
Yeah.
Like at one point he just punches me so hard in the face, he chips one of my teeth. And out of anger, and I could probably find the clip. I literally just deck him as hard as I can in the face, and his nose just starts bleeding. And it's just like this fucking crazy fight that we're just like, oh my God. And like, dude, and it sucked because like I had to go to work that morning. I was doing like truck shifts for Target at that time.
Oh.
Like I had to go to work at like 4 a.m. the next day, a few hours later. And like I was hurting so bad. But then I watched it back and I was like, no, that match was fun. I like that one a lot. And dude, yeah, and it was just such an absurd show. Like, and if you go back and you watch some of the other shows that we've had in there, like we've done like all sorts of stupid shit. Like we did like a bring your crutch invitational. Like we've done like a carpet striptease match. Like so much
You sold me.
Dude, so much stupid shit that you can find in like that TWE back catalog from where we ran there. But it's like, dude, that match alone still gets brought up to me. And I'm like, yeah, it's a match that happened that is absolutely insane. And
I love it.
yeah, like, and that's the thing, people love it, right? So that's all that matters. And I want to wrestle Conley again now, especially because like we touched recently. Well, maybe like we touched like in August actually. We did like this like Red Bank Roulette show. That's sort of like Mystery Vortex, and it was me and Tank versus Mad Dog and Aaron Wade. And like I got a little bit in there with him, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I want this again." Because like, dude, he's firing on all cylinders right now. He's killing it.
I mean, he's Mr. Dean, right? Like he's Mr.
Essentially,
Segunda
dude, that match with him and Slade, being there in the fucking building for that.
And no, like I've never been ever.
Dude, my old man, Bud, he who started TWE, he was there for it, and like he's like. He comes up to me afterwards, and I said, well, what you think about that main event? And I didn't know what he was going to say. He goes, that was pro fucking wrestling. And I was like, got him. Like, I was like, yes, that was.
You're like, they got him. They got Bud. Yeah, man. I feel like he's a whole different wrestler than the, who you had in 2022 in that match. Like
exactly. And dude, and I'm such a different wrestler now too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna throw it out there. You know where I think it should be, and it would get like really, really a great reaction. Is I feel like you need to go to his stomping grounds in Anarchy.
Oh yeah,
because I know you've been there before. That's a company that's like blowing my mind, along with you guys in TWE and Action and stuff. Like, holy shit, man! What great like talent up there. You got Gary J, Aaron Williams. The list goes on, man.
Yeah, dude. St. Louis Anarchy is a lot of fun, and like that was. It's so cool to be able to wrestle there because whenever I really started understanding the independents, that was one of my goals. I told Matt Jackson this too. Like, so for Christmas a few years ago when I was a kid, I got Colt Cabana's Wrestling Road Diaries Part 3, Funny Equals Money. And on there, he goes to AIW, Freelance, St. Louis Anarchy, and I believe there's one other show. First Wrestling up in Minnesota. And I made a goal when I watched that. I said, I'm going to wrestle at all those places. And I've wrestled at Freelance. I've wrestled at St. Louis Anarchy. I've wrestled at First Wrestling. I did a tryout for AIW in 2020, right before the world shut down. But like, yeah, like, so being able to like wrestle there now is just so cool because it's like, oh, like this isn't like me as like a little fan being here. Like I actually am a part of the roster and like, they booked me. So it's like really cool.
And Spalding Hall just looks like one of the coolest little.
It's such a sick venue, man. It's so special what they're doing there.
Yeah, man. And I mean, the only other thing is I just I wanted to ask, obviously you're on your comeback. You had the situation in action with I believe it was Sells, was it
Yeah.
Matt Sells, right?
Yeah, Matt Sells. That
He's
guy.
crying because his knees hurt too, right? And he's just jealous of you. But we all know that watch action regularly. What goals do you have when you come back? What are things you definitely want to check off?
Yeah, so man, I've had a lot of time to think about it, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like an ongoing list that just kind of keeps getting added to and chipped to because I'll see something online and I'll go, man, that seems like that'd be a lot of fun. For me, like I want to get back to Europe and the UK. 16 karat gold's a big goal of mine. I would really love to, go there and like kind of showcase what it means to be Southeast first and like take that worldwide. And like I've already done it once, right? But to now enter that prestigious tournament would mean the absolute world to me, right? I would love to wrestle for Progress Wrestling. Progress has been a big goal of mine for some years as well. And really just like crack over into like that scene a little bit more. Japan, obviously. I would love to go to Japan. So like a Japan tour would be awesome. And just really just come back and just hit the ground fucking running and do everything and anything I can. Um, I've not been super quiet about it. I would love to wrestle on national television. I've been doing this. It'll be 13 years in August, and I've had some opportunities that have been very cool as far as it goes with like working with like AEW with the Dean events and of course doing extra work with WWE and things like that. But it's like, man, like, I would love to be able to say that I got to wrestle on national television a little bit. So yeah, I would say those are like all of the big goals. Oh, can't forget this. Getting back our independent wrestling world tag team championships with Jameson and Shook.
There we go. Never lost them.
No, never lost them, and that's what pisses me off.
And that would be an even hotter. I mean, you with Jameson White Hot, that adds a lot to what's going on already. Like that's the best part about where you're at least where when you got injured. I feel like it's like for whatever reason, all these different companies going in and out. It's like it really is kind of a clean slate for everyone on the scene. So you're not where it feels, and I know you feel like you're losing so much time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you want to get better and all that. But really, in a way, you kind of couldn't have had better timing because when you come back, it's like, okay, like everyone feels kind of shooken up at this point,
Yeah.
like I think it's a great thing for you. Like you're going to definitely have a lot of opportunity there. And I mean, it's Jaden Newman, right? Like you're Numero Uno, you're going to get the job done. And I'm just excited for you to come back. I'm glad to see you doing a little angle ski, if you will. It's like, okay, we're not as far away as maybe it felt. And I also want to put over your commentary. You've been fantastic in action. I had a bit of a viral moment where I put up the it's like a gif, I guess, of Darian and Jameson, the shoot child.
Yeah, dude,
Comment.
I just was, the way that I do commentary, and this was actually a Dylan Hell's teaching that I got, which by the way, working with Rob Weathers has been great. Rob's really good
He's
at what he
great.
does. So shout out to Rob as well. Dylan Hell's taught me, whenever it pertains to commentary, that you don't need to think with your observer brain. You just can't, right? Like you think with your I think it was your PWI brain. So like, I think from a fan's perspective, and like also like I have to think from a wrestler's perspective of like, okay, I've been in that. I understand what that is. How can I explain this to a casual person watching in a way that like will make them understand, right? But like also like, dude, I'm just having fun. Like I'm getting paid to watch wrestling and like just talk.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Like I'm so thankful for that. So yeah.
I also have heard from people in the past that they say like doing commentary and stuff like that, it does make you a better wrestler. It really helps you think about structure and things like that. So you're definitely doing yourself a service doing that too.
Thank you. And dude, that's so true. Like, and honestly, doing commentary, like, and not just like doing commentary, but like doing it and trying to do it at a good level, like completely changes how you watch wrestling. Like, I watch maybe like a match or three a day. And like,
Yeah.
dude, I can't watch a wrestling match now without also zoning in on what commentary's saying, because it's like, how is commentary making this match better? What are they saying to prove the point that needs to be proven? Right. And like,
Yeah.
it's been so crazy because it was like something unlocked. And I text Rob that the other day. I was like, I can't watch wrestling without like having to hear the commentary. Like I have to hear what commentary is saying. So yeah, it truly is. It helps you so much with like learning the structure of a match and like knowing like your beats of like, how can I get this over with my commentary team?
Yeah, because it's not easy. I mean, we've heard like people that are great at this be terrible commentary and vice versa. So
Yeah.
uh I thought that was interesting. And again, it's also a testament, like you could have just sat at home, you know what I mean, rehabbed and done the thing that a lot of guys do and kind of hole up in your own little world, but that's not good for you. So kudos to you for seeing like, nah, man, I got to be around this shit. So yeah, Jaden, I mean, I don't have any more questions. We've hit every single thing I wrote down, which I did not expect. So that is nice. Where can everyone find you on social media, buddy?
This is my favorite part because this is the part that I have got down to a T. So, everybody, you can find me on Twitter, or now known as X, at Jaden for real. That's JADEN number 4 real. I am not the female basketball player. I am the independent wrestler, Jaden Newman. You can also find me on Instagram at Jaden1Newman, JADEN number 1 Newman. Facebook at Jaden Newman -official. I also have merchandise. You can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Jaden Newman. I may end up working on a fourth wall website soon as well. So I will have another site as well that you can go to for merchandise. So that's really all the plugs I have. Continue to support TWE, continue to support Southeast Wrestling and the independent wrestling as a whole. TWE has a lot of really cool events coming up, especially in the summer. Scenic City Invitational, 13 years strong. So we've got a lot of things coming up that you just got to keep your eyes out for, y'all. So just do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jaden, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait to see you back out there. Until next time, we'll see you.